So thank you very much again, Terry, for this very nice opportunity. It's a pleasure and an honor to speak before you tonight here, because we just opened an exhibition on music and AI. I will say in a minute who we are and why we did this. So some impressions about how it looks like. It's at the Museum of Applied Arts in Hamburg. It's a very big museum, one of the biggest kinds in Europe. And one of the problems or the challenges was how to implement AI in an exhibition. We are musicians also. We are musicologists. We analyze music. This analysis and also the technological problems we address lead to new music, because music has always been very technical. Guitar builders build guitars not from scratch. They know how to do it. Piano builders do the same. You got all the software which is running at the in the recording studio. You've got streaming platforms. All your mobile devices, they are all technological devices, and this all shapes our music. And of course, this is interplay between musicology and music all the way through. So it still was a challenge to make AI visible in the museum. And I'm very grateful for all the people that helped me. And in the end, we got about 80 people participating in this exhibition to make it real work. We had a creator team of Olaf Kirsch, Dominik Lutz, and Florian Pfeiffer and me, and many others who contributed with their work to it. So very briefly, systematic musicology. What the hell is systematic musicology? Most people don't have heard about it before. We are three things. We are musical acoustic signal processing, so we're really on the physics side. We're developing software. We're also doing machine learning. This is where the AI part was in. We always did machine learning. We always did AI. I learned it when I studied systematic musicology way back when. Music information retrieval, but we also do music psychology. We're doing EEG, brain research, we're doing perception tests, psychoacoustics, music ecology, and music and health, and so on. And we're doing music ethnology. We're doing field work and going to fields, sit down in the huts of people and say, please play me your music. So I'm around in Southeast Asia, I'm in Myanmar, Cambodia, but also in China recently. Quite often, which includes also popular music studies, because you cannot tell the difference nowadays. And this means also media and market and all the software development companies and everything, which is music sociology, which comes all together. And so if we do an exhibition on music and AI, we want to address all these topics, because AI is everywhere in music now. You won't find a field where music is no longer there. How to visualize AI? This is not only a visualization problem, but it's also a problem of content. These are what you normally see. You have a deep learning. This is what you hear. You've got convolutional neural networks. You got here the deep learning. You've got an input layer, an output layer, deep layers. In the convolutional, you also got convolution involved. You got residual networks. In music composition, which we will hear in other talks a little bit more. I will concentrate on the analytical side first. Autoencoder models, you have to put in some music of ragtime, and then you have the system compose the ragtime with a melody of Beethoven or something like this. Or here the mini Bach or the deep Bach, which produces some output. But all these models which you see are black boxes. And this has also often been criticized in the public, say, okay, the AI is taking us over because we don't know what it's doing. You know, you program it, you feed it with something, and it's doing what it's doing. We don't know what. We don't want to have this. There are AI systems which work differently, which are not black boxes. Of course, they're very complex and they train themselves, or you need to train them, feed them. But in the end, afterwards, you know why they detect what they detect. And for us as musicologists, as people who want to know about things, this is the important thing. For a researcher, such an AI of deep learning or autoencoder is of no use. I mean, you've got a running system and the system works very well. But why? So why should I, as a researcher, use an AI tool? Yeah. And even more, if you understand what the AI is doing and why it is working the way it is working, you can then use this knowledge to, again, compose or create software or whatever. So, and this was one of the major ideas of the exhibition, to educate people as far as we can, to make people understand how AI works, that there's not one AI. There are dozens of algorithms. And it's up to us to decide which algorithms which we want to use and which we don't want to use, in which way we want to use them, and even better, to develop our own algorithms which work the way it is. So for the exhibition, we needed to decide what to do. And we decided for the Conan self-organizing maps. What is this? What you can think of that map here like a cut through the brain. What you see are many neurons here. Each rectangle would be one neuron. The neurons are next to each other. So if you train them, they know what the neighboring neurons know. And if you have an untrained some map, as we call it, it might look like this. And if you train it, it's sorting. You know, so it seems it's organizing itself into fields. And after you've trained it, of course, you can use this and use this here as an example of a piano. We'll show you a little bit later to decide if the piano is built as a piano right after manufacturing or 1 year after playing. I asked the AI this, can you make a difference? You have fed in all the piano tones. You know, there's 88 tones. Each dot is one of these tones. And the AI said, yes, I can sort you. And afterwards, you can play one of these tones and can tell you, is this the original piano or the piano 1 year after use? But even more than this, we know why. We'll come this to a minute. This might look very complex. This is work here with Krishna Alexandraki in a team of 3, where you have drum patterns sorted. So these are different drum patterns. You know, a drummer puts some tape on his drums to dampen it, to make the sound of the drum the way he wants it. This is very complicated, but if you have a physical model and you have many of these drum patterns with varying thickness of mass, then you can ask the AI, can you understand this? What's going on? And the AI is sorting this. It shows which of these patterns are close in sound. These are the colors which are next to one another. And where's the region which you cannot decide? So these sounds more or less sound all the same. You cannot tell from which pattern it comes. Of course, you can use this. The drummers can use this then to drum the way, to tune, you know, they know which sound they want, and now they can look at the AI, so ask the AI, how would I need to tape my drum to get to that sound? It could also be interesting in terms of music history. You know, I have a friend who is investigating Ringo Starr for his drumming. And he knows everything about his drums. And there was a big day when he finally could meet Ringo Starr. And he asked, in that session in 1965 in that studio, how did you tape your drum? And Ringo Starr said, I don't know. I simply don't remember. You know, you tell me, you know, how would you? Now with this system, you could just play a drum and he would tell you how the taping was. So it could be used for writing an acoustic music history. And this is what we are all in. We are living in retro times, you know. In arts, it may be more in music than in arts. In music in the 20th century, each decade had a new, we were just discussing this, had a new style, you know, techno, hip hop, rock and roll, beat, whatever. Each decade had a new style. In the last 20 years, there was no new style. We're living in retro times. So this is why, but also a reason why AI is so easily able to compose the music before. We have 20 years now where we analyze that music to such an extent where we know nearly everything about it. So this is another thing. One thing which is also interesting to know for AI and good for us to know is how you feed it. With the music here, you can feed it the sound file. A student of mine has, I think at one moment, he founded a company, once did very much for Spotify and the AI, now is on his own. The company has changed a little bit, whatever. But I think he's still got worldwide the most sophisticated system to analyze music in kind of all kinds of aspects, you know, which from which decade a musical piece comes from. Is there a male or female singer? Can you detect which kind of genre there is? Would it be preferred by women or by men or whatever? You know, it's all AI. How does he do it? Normally he just put in the sound file. Only put in the sound file, nothing else. He has 60 million sounds which he analyzed, and I can't show you here. You can see it if you visit the exhibition. Yes. Now it's changing to a transformer model. It's a little bit different, but it works with only using the sound file. But then you can go into more abstraction. You can put in a spectrum, you know, which frequencies are in the sound file. You can use melodies to extract melodies before you feed your AI, rhythms, psychoacoustic parameters, which we often also do, or pictures. This is a picture of Simon Linke, who helped very much with the exhibition. So he's very hard to detect. We have a Muppet Show exhibition next door, and it's very hard to, you know, for face recognition. He's safe in terms of face recognition. And you can put this all into your system and see if that works. But it also means, you know, artificial intelligence is there to reconstruct real intelligence. We have got 150 years now of understanding how real intelligence in terms of music works. Started with Hermann von Helmholtz in 1863, Lehre von Tonempfindung, and went through Karl Stumpf, all the music psychologists, Hornborst, ethnologists, and there's libraries of knowledge about how real intelligence of music works. And we make use of it. Of course. These are all things which already have been extracted by real intelligence systems. You know, listening to a pitch is still not understood yet how that works. We know a lot about it, but are still contracting theories of how we construct a pitch. Next to mine, for example, a rhythm, you know, so that's not trivial at all. It's all done by real intelligence. So we can say, okay, we leave that all to the artificial intelligence, or we can say we know what we extract and then go to the artificial intelligence. But anyway, that system of artificial intelligence in the end is so powerful compared to all other methods which are around. You will always want to use it. That's the thing. So in the end, after training and after publishing, you get things like this at the Cohonen maps, not in the deep learning maps. In the deep learning maps, it's a black box. There's no way, so many people tried, there's no way to understand why AI works. It works, but you don't know why. You didn't learn anything and you don't know why. It's a real black box. With our system, you know why, because you're looking at what we call a component plane here. It's an example only for psychoacoustic parameters. So if some sounds are more on the left upper side, we know, the AI listened to the loudness. If this is the loudness distribution. Yellow means louder, blue means low, no, not so loud. So now we can understand, the AI listened to that and said, okay, now I sorted. You know, the AI is listening to music pieces like we do. Hundreds of thousands of millions of times, and each time it listen to it to say, how do I sort it? How do I, you know, how to understand it? Like face recognition. Now, how can I distinguish between the different faces which there are? And in the end, then we can ask the AI, what did you listen to? What were the crucial parts of the sound? And this is why we prefer this and also use it then in an exhibition. That all started with a phonogram archiving thing, a computational phonogram archiving. We at the Institute, the University of Hamburg was founded from Colonial Institute. Germany had also colonial history in 1918. And in colonial times, there were many recordings of speech, which were recorded in the colonies, including musical pieces. And when the university was founded, there was one phonological institute and a musicological institute being founded. And we've still got the collection, the historic collections of the music, the University of Hamburg from the foundation, and digitalized this and put this into this archive. You can just go at the web and use it too. It was the first time we used it online, that you can listen to all the pieces, but we have got an AI system which sorted all this, understood how these musical pieces sounded like. It's collections from, historical collections from African music and Middle Eastern music. It's also my collection of music from Southeast Asia and related countries. And then you can look at the reasons why it is working. I could show you this here online, but I think we have the system of our exhibition also online, part of it. So after the talk, you can go into that and look a little bit deeper, and I'll show you some examples there. We've got also a repro where our students can download and do their own AI system. This is also something which for education is important for us. We broke this thing down so easily that within a bachelor course, over a semester, somebody can download the framework. We show them how to make it make a collection, and then make it his or her own AI. We have experienced this once. Yeah, it's not somewhere here. It's now between us, and we can do it. We can sort it. Now is the time where we want to show you some examples from the real exhibition, and this is supposed to be here. I hope that you hear the sounds. Yes. So this is the piano example, which I showed you in the beginning. Let's see, you can play the songs, piano sounds, and if the sound would be working, you would hear the sounds, but the sound is not working. There's a keyboard down there, so in the exhibition you can play chords, and you can choose which of you can slide between the piano right after manufacturing and the piano 1 year after playing, and slide back and forth, and then fuse to the sounds and see. Do you listen? Do you hear the difference?
To be able to fix the sound.
Yes, please. I continue talking. And you can listen to the fusion of that. And we did a listening test. People hear it very good. And we did many other methods to decide what do people listen to. You know, why do they hear such a clear? And another thing is, for example, here, telling the difference between harpsichords and pianos. You know, there are many pianos and harpsichords. You can listen to different sounds. This is a harpsichord. The museum, Hamburg Museum of Applied Arts, has the largest collection of harpsichords worldwide. Thanks to Andreas Beuermann, who is a dear colleague, had enough money to collect all these instruments. Is no longer with us, unfortunately. A very nice man, I must say, very knowledgeable. And so we have the chance to sample all these harpsichords, hammer pianos, modern pianos.
Wow.
Yes, it's we are lucky there. You hear the sound, it's a pity, but the AI sorting this from history. Modern pianos are on the left top, and then the harpsichords are down there, down to the hammer piano. So, and then again, you can, with our system, you understand why this is working. Yeah, why you hear the differences. Another topic, only briefly, music of different ethnic groups. These are our fake deep fakes. This is Hermann von Helmholtz in my voice. So these are sorting ethnic groups. In my work in Southeast Asia, I recorded many of these ethnic groups, and we asked the AI, is it possible to tell the different ethnic groups only in terms of their music, because traditionally they are defined by their language. And this is a highly political thing. And for example, in China, you've got officially 56 ethnic groups. And this was constructed in the 50s due to the state creation of China at that time. And there are many ethnic groups in Yunnan mainly, which do not feel that they belong to the system. And you've got all these problems in Indonesia, in Myanmar. You know, we have got in Myanmar over 130 ethnic groups. In Thailand, in Myanmar, where I did lots of research, you know, there's again a civil war raging among this, the Thatmadaw and then this ethnic groups. And the AI is able to understand this, and even more, you look like you have a question now. Oh, sorry. And even more, as you can see, this is a continuum. So we do not need to say you are only a Yi or a Nashi or a Hani or anything. There are multiple ethnicities possible, and there's a fading between these ethnic groups. So the AI would help us here to for a new understanding of ethnicity, of identity, not only in ethnic groups, but also in musical genre, music history, and so on. We're always thinking in categories, you know, schemata, and this AI is fluent, you know, and so opens up new possibilities for what we could do. Streaming, this is also something which is a real problem for musicians nowadays. You know, if one stream is 0.0003 euro a cent for the musician, nothing. The Copyright Act is no longer working in music. This is a real threat for musicians worldwide. So we had several ideas how to approach this, finding an own streaming section and so on. But this is the AI approach to it. At the right side, you see a very interesting parameter, actually, fatness. You know, a hip-hop sound needs to be fat. You know, we had a PhD of Lars Schmedeke, who was collecting the music from soul, hip hop, dance floor from the 50s to the 60s. What you see here is 50s to the 60s, and he produced a fatness algorithm. How fat they are. You can calculate the fatness of a sound, and you, if you may have a listening test, you will see that the fatness increases here over the decades. Blue are the soul pieces here, and the yellow is electronic, hip-hop is red. So over the decades, it became more and more fat. And this is a very important parameter then to feed the AI, then to be able to distinguish musical genre of electronic dance music, which is working. And you could use this, for example, in streaming platform. You know, in streaming platform, you've got these echo chambers, you know, you stream a musical piece, then you get suggestions, what's next to do. And the suggestions are what people who had listened to that musical piece had heard before. But with this AI, you could say, okay, we know what you are interested in. We give you a suggestion of a completely unknown musician, which has the same musical parameters. You will be interested in that. Listen to that. You know, and give the opportunity for completely new, for newcomers, musicians to run a new system. So this is where we want to go into that. One last thing, which I could, is only examples of the many we have. This is Gladney, of course. Film music, emotion. It's interesting to see how simple the emotions of musical listeners are in general. There's much research about this, and you can sort film music in terms of emotion and emotional development over time. And in the exhibition, we've got some spots, you know, the AI is listening to the music and then detecting which emotion is in there. And we go with the spots to different places where different emotions are shown. And you can sit there and say, okay, yeah, I agree with this, or I disagree, whatever. So this is possible. Film music is one of the things where emotions are implemented, and artificial intelligence is composing music of that kind. So there are many of these examples, musicai.unihamburg.de, if you want to see this. And there's one last thing which I show you, and then you get rid of me. Hopefully, which is, which is, I need to do that. I would say something about music and consciousness, which was the interest, but I'm running out of time. Don't I?
No, please.
Terry is MC.
Please do not skip that slide.
I suggest you don't at the moment. We're running out of time for you.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
I want to hear it.
What is music consciousness? There's lots of research about consciousness. This is a measurement of the rabbit brain, which smells something. And if you're looking closer, this is time frames, and you see a pattern which is going round and round and round, and then is repeating. And this goes on for 50 milliseconds, then the system breaks down and it builds up for another 50 milliseconds. We integrate everything which we perceive within 50 milliseconds. We cannot tell within the 50 milliseconds what happened first and what happened next. And this happens by a real neural network in terms of spatial time of a field, electric field in space and time. So it seems to be that our conscious content is always an electric field in space and time, which builds up for 50 milliseconds, breaks down, builds up again. The same holds for music. This is where how pitch is perceived. This is the auditory cortex. So the fundamental pitch is going through all the neural nerve fibers. Each nerve fibers would be here. And screen. And this is Lenz Hartmann did this here. This is for musical tension. I had EEG over the whole brain. And if you listen to a musical piece and the tension builds up, then your brain synchronizes up to the point where the tension is maximum and desynchronizes. Then again, a field, a spatial, temporal, electric field. This is what our conscious content is. And how can we approach this with artificial intelligence? Most closely, actually, with the Coronal maps which we showed before. Not so much with deep learning. Deep learning is a little bit far away from that. This very briefly, because I'm running out of time. One more thing. Short. Politics to lean over alternatives to AI. We also have in the exhibition one alternative, physical modeling. There are restrictions of AI. For example, it only knows what it has learned. There's an example of colleagues here from Uppsala who are tracking politics in Africa. The politics in Africa is very clearly recorded over the 50s until today. And you can feed an AI, they say, okay, I know what happened in Africa in the 50s and 60s. Can you predict me what happened in the 70s? And it can, but only very long ranging. Politics is often about revolutions, about violence, outbreaks of violence, whatever, outbreaks of peace, but sudden changes. AI can never predict sudden changes because it only knows what has happened before. It's like us. The best AI is maybe only like we are. And we have so many mistakes, don't we? Is something which could be better. And our suggestion is a self-organizing impulse pattern formulation as a physical model. There are some examples here. One maybe last thing, which is also in the exhibition, the human-machine interaction. If you have a very simple thing to show it in the exhibition, if you're playing with a musician and you've got your tempo and the musician has its tempo too, and you change your tempo, maybe you're not, nobody's perfect, and the other need to adapt to your tempo. How is that working? The idea is it's impulses which go through systems. There are many. And this would mean that you have a system which is composed of many subsystems, and all the subsystems are self-organizing to one system. And by building up a system of all brains and of all artifacts like musical instruments and also of computers and industry and so on, we would be able then to build up a physical model of the world of the future, which would then be better than AI. I hope so. So if you're interested, my last word, read.
We're very interested, I can assure you.
Thank you very much.